Getting out of the SUV, Terrence Matheson and Al made straight for us. The CEO was so red-faced he looked ready to burst. The safety officer asked, "Anyone hurt?" The paramedic looked up. "Looks like nothing more than a few scrapes and bruises. All's good." "All right," the officer said, addressing the group. "What's the story?" No one seemed to want to volunteer to be first. The foreman looked pointedly at me. "This was the driver." "What's your name?" the officer asked me. "Richard," I said, then added, "Riley." "Are you all right? What happened?" I shook my head. "I don't know. I was delivering some parts, and someone walked out in front of me. I braked and swerved into the workbench, and then everything was kind of a blur." Terrence's eyes narrowed to angry slits. "Someone?" he asked, pitching his voice loud enough to be heard by everyone in the area. A dozen pairs of eyes looked in our direction. My gut clenched under the scrutiny, and I could feel myself flush. I noticed a movement from the corner of my eye and spotted the welder I'd almost hit. He looked frightened out of his wits. I didn't recognize him. He must have been new. He spoke in a small voice. "It was me, sir." The foreman called him closer. "Jim, what happened?" "Sorry, sir," Jim said, looking back and forth between his foreman, the safety officer, and Mr. Matheson. "It was just one of those things, an accident. I was just going to grab a wrench, and there was the truck. It happened really fast." "Why'd the solvent catch on fire?" the safety officer asked. Jim seemed to shrink inside himself. One of the security men made a throaty noise, bent over, and picked up a cigarette butt. He brought it over. The foreman's voice was a low growl. "Jim, this is your brand, isn't it?" Jim turned white. Terrence Matheson stepped forward, glaring at both of us. "Do you have any idea what you've done? We're going to have to shut down this entire hangar until we can run a full investigation. You two morons just cost me tens of thousands of dollars. Maybe even hundreds of thousands with the delay this will cause. It's not like my insurance company is going to cover stupidity and negligence." He turned to Al. "I want you and your security team to escort these two off the premises. They're both fired for negligence and incompetence." The safety officer said, "I can't see how this man was at fault at all." He jerked his thumb at me. Terrence didn't look at the safety officer when he spoke. "I happened to review his employment file today. It appears he has a criminal record and is therefore unbondable. According to our company's insurance policy, unbonded personnel are restricted from entering any bonded area." He looked squarely at the security officer. "I believe our hangars are bonded areas. He broke protocol. He should never have come inside the building. If anyone had been injured, our company would be liable." The security officer sighed. "Damn." "Like I said," Terrence leveled his glare back at me, "incompetence. I'm sure my lawyers will be contacting both of you. Al, please, get these two idiots out of my sight." Al, one of his lips curled up in a satisfied sneer, grabbed me by my arm. "Let's go." He motioned to one of the security men to escort Jim. I felt like I was outside of myself. I couldn't believe what was happening. Between the shock of the accident, my exhaustion from lack of sleep, and being convicted without a trial, I couldn't process it all fast enough. Al had bundled Jim and me inside the SUV, and we were halfway to the main gate before the gravity of everything finally sunk in. I was still on parole. Being fired, my PO had explained to me very carefully, was a direct violation of that parole. The moment he found out, he would send me straight back to prison.